I just saw. I was just gonna say something and it said you're in the broadcast.
So here we
Zach is
are,
back.
back
Zach is
and
back and alive.
0-4.
Well, I was thinking about that, how you must feel about that. And I wouldn't look at it as self-defeating at all, because
I
if
don't.
anybody looks at the videos that you posted and, looked at what you were doing out there, it's fucking absolutely nuts. Not in a crazy way, in an insane, difficult way, because I
Yeah.
mean, you were purple. You were literally purple.
I have a video of Zach doing the Rubik's cube and his hands like this.
Yeah,
He's
it was.
That's
purple.
shit. Like an alcoholic with the DTs, right?
Yeah,
So,
it
But
it was rough.
but
did
you
you
know
ever did you ever solve the Rubik's cube?
No, I had to have help. I mean, so here's the thing. And this is what I learned this time around. And I don't listen. And here's the thing. At the end, I told you get a cheap skull. It's not about that. It's about
Right.
setting a goal and finishing, and that's why I do it. But every time I've found something different about myself, or I've had time to bond with other people, and it's always a win. I come out of there like feeling much different and much more complete, if that makes sense. Even though I didn't technically get through, and I'll take that. But what I learned this time, man, is it's not like physically. I felt amazing. Hydration, I felt incredible. My food, I snacked on these and these. Oh yeah,
yeah, boy.
and I was fine.
Yeah,
I had
boy.
so much gas in the tank. But my creative problem solving and the way I think I sometimes take things way too literally, and that's where I failed this time. Not just the Rubik's cube. The Rubik's cube took me
Explain
forever.
that. What do you mean by that?
You didn't. You
Okay.
didn't fail. You didn't fail. See now, when you say death, right? What comes to mind? Because everyone that I was like death race, they were like, I showed them some of the videos. They're like, what the fuck? How much is he getting for that? So like John said, it's not a failure. But you need. When I think about death, I think about cheating death. I would have
Right.
cheated my way through, and some people did cheat. So I watch it firsthand. You have to, it's about survival. It's about
Yes.
and you're in a like you have to do what you have to do to survive. Like on a lower end, like Men in Black, when Will Smith pulled the table over to to use the to write on the piece of paper when everybody was poking holes in it. You got to find ways to poke holes
Yes.
in this race. Like you
No,
got to
he's right.
find ways to cheat.
He's 100. No, he's right, and I wouldn't say cheat in case the race director actually watches or listens to this. But I will say you're right, though, Frank, in that, and that's what I mean about thinking differently, right? Like, so, for example, there were people that were they saw people were struggling with the cube, and they went over and they helped them, right? If they would have seen me struggle, I would have probably been helped and gotten out of there. But the reason I didn't was because I was stuck. We had to sew our bib numbers on, and I took it literally as to sew. Whereas some people I saw later on, they just put like the yarn down and then used markers to make to fill the rest in so you could see it. I should have done that. Like that is smart. And then even with my boat, my floaty boat that we had to fill up. First of all, I heard them talking. They're like, "Why did everybody get these big boats?" One person was way smarter than the rest of us. They put the kid floaties on their arms, went in there, solved it, and left. We're sitting there pumping up these things, all this stuff, and then I'm spending all this time deflating it. And that's when Joe was like, to some afterwards, I found this out. He goes, "Well, they have a knife and they have duct tape. Why doesn't he just pop it?
Yeah, yeah.
And if he
Well,
needs it, put the tape back on and use it again."
you were irritable, man. Like
Yeah.
I was standing on the side, like when he was ready to sew, he's like, "How the fuck do you sew this thing?" And the girl's like, she's like, the girl next to him goes, bend the bend the hole in the shirt and put the needle there. And Zach goes, "Bend the needle," and she goes, "Hey guy, how do you bend the needle?" It's like it was just funny.
However, it's like, but
Everybody was on edge, man.
yeah,
Everybody
but
was
that's
on
also the
edge.
way I cope. I start to like, I obviously I know you can't bend the needle, but that is what happens to me when I start to get really angry and I feel it. I start to
Yeah.
talk a lot. Like I start one-liners. I start to just jammer, like just nonstop jibber jabber, and that's the way I kind of bring myself down. And that's so there were 7 of us that really got stuck on that cube. And I mean, so then afterwards, because they know me, so they had some kids that were there for the camp. And did you see those kids? Those kids were like ripped. Like those kids were in like
So,
crazy
I
shape.
they were like a gymnastic crew, and
Jesus.
one of the kids, they let the kids in the water, and I'm videoing Zach, and the kid stuck a stick in Zach's boat and inflated it.
Yeah.
So were they like gremlins? You had these kids running around like messing you up.
So
But
I'm sitting
you
there.
handled it well.
Listen, what am I gonna do, man? I'm stuck. So here was the thing, John. So that pond is spring fed. It's 50 degrees, I think, pretty much year round. So I'm sitting in there for hours. My lower body, my feet, my I am frigid. I'm frozen, and I can't get out because I can't solve the cube. Now, also, what people were doing is they were breaking it apart and putting it back together. I didn't know you could do that. Like, and I even had a cheat sheet, by the way. But here's the problem I had with my cheat sheet. I didn't take one method and stick with it. I jumped around and went to various methods and tried to plug them in. So what I was doing would only work for specific methods and algorithms. I didn't know that until later on because I realized when I was watching other people and their notes, theirs were different. And I was like, God, but I knew right then that I was already behind. So I get out of that. I break the cube apart and they do let me go. And they, dude, first of all, I also got to say, Frank gets there and Frank out of the gate rolls his ankle. Frank gets injured.
So by the
That looked
pond,
terrible. How is that?
well. I'll tell you the story. I'm okay. So, like Zach said, he's being nice. It's not a pond. It's a swamp. There's leeches. There's leeches, and I had to get a haircut to get all the ticks out of the back of my head out. Right? I found the tick, and then I found another one. So I went to the
No,
barber. And
really?
he goes, "You have a bug in your hair." I said, "Shave it." So anyway, I'm going down. There's a steep kind of hill that actually they were doing fireman's carries up and whatever, and I didn't have the right foot gear. I'm a city slicker, John. I think I'm wearing Cole Haans or something, right? So I slid a little bit, and when you slide, I rolled my foot like this, and I didn't think I didn't think anything of it, you know. So I'm standing there. So the EMTs came down to check the purple people in the water, like Zach was in there,
Like me.
and as he was looking up at me, he goes, "Hey, guy," he goes, "Your ankle's swollen." I said, "Oh." I looked down because it didn't hurt. I was like, he's like, "Don't take your shoe off because," he's like,
Never
"you're
get
not
it
going to be
back
able to
on.
get it back on."
Yeah.
So he goes, "You're not competing." He goes, "Are you competing?" I said, "No." I said, "I'm just commentating." He goes, "All right, we're going to ATV you out of here." I go, "No, no, 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 you're not." So I walked out. So I walked out, and he goes, so I went to the tent, and they go, "Yeah, it's swollen. We don't know if it's not broken." He said, you turned it, sprained. He goes, "But you can't stand on this, and you can't go up and down the hills." He goes, "You're going to kill yourself." I said, "All right." So I had to leave. I drove back, but I got lymphatic massage. I did a whole bunch of stuff, cryotherapy, everything. So it's a mild sprain. Should be good in 5-7 days. They
It
said.
looked terrible.
It's also
When I first saw it, I thought it was like
it looked really
You'd
bad.
have to get it
ligament.
amputated. I thought you're gonna have to get it amputated.
Dude, it looked bad. Even right then and there, like and it was fresh. It looked really bad. I mean,
Yeah.
but I also, part of me also felt bad because Frank is there with Jose, his business partner, and this event is a long slog. It is meant so that is so the beginning of it specifically is, and I'll go through the beginning and I'll show you tell you what happened, but. It is meant to wear people down mentally out of the gate, to make them question why they would even bother showing up to do these dumb things. Like, what am I doing? This is stupid. I don't need to do this. And that's kind of where I felt, because Frank was in the midst of that. Whereas the second day, things kind of picked up and became much more physical for me anyway. Other people were able to get into physicality faster, and I had to make up time for that. But so the minute we get there, we sign in or whatever, then we have to take all of our stuff, and we're trudging through this. We get to walk through this very muddy, swampy area to this. It's a pile of rotting wood, and there's tires. And I think it's like old Spartan stuff that they wanted to repurpose or get rid of. So right out of the gate, we clean all that up. And right now, people are like already complaining. Why are we doing this? We're doing labor for Spartan. I don't want to do this. This is dumb. And that's exactly where they want you, you know. And there's also the people that want to jump out and be seen as the leaders of the group. Like, all right, guys, let's hustle, and we hustle. No hustle. I'm not hustling on minute one. I am going to do the job and the task, but I'm not going to be sprinting from wood pile to wood pile, because right then and there they said, all right, stop. Everybody dump out your packs. So my bag, which I carefully packed, dumped it all out, and then they would call out these random things that were on the list that you had. And I'll tell you what the painted rock with the skull was about shortly. There was that. There was like, okay, show me your whistle, show me your blanket, show me your whatever. Like, and so you had to do that. So of course I do that, and I mess everything up. And now I am disorganized again.
Back up.
Sure.
How do you mess up showing somebody your
No, I messed it up because I dump everything out, and I'm taking stuff out of bags and not putting it back properly. So it's a mess. And I'm like, oh shit, where did I put this? Or where is my gloves? I couldn't find my gloves that I wanted to not get nails in my hand and splinters, which didn't work. And because I didn't find them. So that was out of the gate. I'm like, okay, this is how I'm going to approach this. I'm going to just basically just like say, I'm going to remember where I put things back. And so I do. I actually remember where I put things. I'm in a better spot. I rearrange everything. I put my hydration and my food in a better spot that I can get it more easily. So we do that. And then to get back into the actual like race, we have to crawl through that swamp with our 50-pound sandbag and our big 2x4x6 piece of lumber and our backpacks, crawl through the mud in the swamp. And that was, listen, you come out of that and you're just covered in mud. Like, it's mud, it's smelly. Oh, dude, I'm getting ahead of myself. Before that, then there was a dude, his name is Eric, I'm forgetting his last name, and he is probably the most terrifying person I have met in a long time. You can tell he is on another level. I'll show you some videos of him, and he's the guy that when people were eating eggs and people were like, oh, they got the farm fresh eggs, well, guess what? Even if they had the baby chick fetuses in it, he'd be like, you got to eat it or you can't leave. Even if people would throw it up, one chick bit the egg, threw it up, and it fell in somebody else's vomit, and he was like, you eat it or you stay here. And she fucking had to eat it. She's in tears. And he'd be staring at people. He'd stare them right in the eyes, and he would say, don't worry, the salmonella sets in a week and a half or so you'll be fine until then. Eat it. And I was like, my thing was, dude, here's the thing. They said, I'll get to that task, but when they told me to eat the egg, here's what I did.
Yeah, that's why I was recommending the quail egg.
I should,
it was small. You could have swat with that without even cracking the shell.
People did that, man. It was smart.
I got to give Zach so much credit, because they were mentally abusing. They were like it's almost like a hazing, like a college fraternity hazing, but with a lot of the people, like, are they're all really nice. A lot of them, the majority of them are great guys. Like, afterwards, they are great people. Yeah. They're nice. They're funny. Like, because I wasn't competing, I was talking to them. But there are people who are not. They're just vindictive. They're there to pretty much, abuse him and like get pats on the back from people. Like, one guy was like, he was going off and he goes, like, Muscle Fitness this and Muscle Fitness that. And then he goes to me, he's like, yeah, Muscle Fitness. I go, yeah. He goes, are we live? I go, yeah, we got no, we got 30 million on our platform. He goes, 30 million people you got on. I go, listen, buddy. I go, this is the Swamp Bowl. It ain't the Super Bowl. Calm down. And he walked
Who,
away.
who was the fat guy yelling at everybody for not being fit enough? That would have driven me nuts right there.
Okay. So that was Don Devaney, and I got to tell you, I
He's a
love this
sweetheart,
guy.
man. I like
And
that guy.
he's also got some health issues, but so in I think it was 2019, Don biked around the United States for charity, and he's now going to do it in 2 years for Europe. So he has definitely gone through different
Lose some weight.
body composition. No, but his character, and he even said that at the
He's a
beginning.
nice
He goes, look, my character is here to make you quit, and I am playing a character, and I am good at it, and I am going to be relentless. And he goes, but after that, I love everybody here, and we can talk about anything, and I'll help you. But he's definitely
hysterical.
yeah, he's also yeah, but he gets on you, and he's won these races before. He's done winter death race shit. He's another nut. Like, he's another guy that's like another level. But my thing is this: I don't take it personally, because they also know that, like, they are more brutal, I think, with me, and also people that work for Spartan.
For sure.
Like, they'll say stuff that they wouldn't say to other people to me, and I just remember that it's a game. I remember it's all in the game, and I'm not going to take it personally. It's not that I like to hear some of it, but it's to distract me.
You were awesome, dude, man, because you were taking abuse. And that one of the same guy I was talking about, it was just one guy out of like 40, 50. Like, he's like, hey, Muscle and Fitness, he's talking to me. He goes, you could change, I'll make you a deal. You could change positions with him, and you can go in the boat and do the Rubik's Cube. And then he can get out of the water. And I go, okay. I go, how about this? I go, how about we fight to the death? And then whoever wins, then, if I win, I could get him out of the boat. He walked away.
Yeah, but I will. But yeah, so that's part of it. And I think a lot of folks are not used to it. So and I'm with people that are. One guy I was with, next year he's moving to Alaska to live in the wilderness for a year. Like, that's it. Like, just whatever he's got on him.
Dude,
and
get a girlfriend.
I know. There's
right? Or he's probably getting over a girlfriend.
We asked him. We said, "Why are you doing that?" He was like, "Why not? See if I could do it." And I'm like, "Okay, like, that's, if you want to try it, if you want to Bear Grylls it, go ahead." I couldn't. That's not me, but that's the caliber of people. Plus, we had 2 Marines. One Marine bailed before the first day. She said, "I don't need to do." And she's absolutely right. I don't need to do this. I'm not chasing anything. I don't want to do it. Okay. And then the other Marine, like, when she was eliminated with me, when we didn't make the time cut, this woman was so strong, and she was so hard on herself, because she's like, I work with Marines. I wanted to do this to inspire them, and now I failed. And it's like, listen, I was like, this is a game. This is not meant to be fair. This is meant to push you and to make you uncomfortable. So you can do all this stuff because you do it for a living, but all it is we didn't make a time cut inside of a game. So I was like, but what did you? I told her, I go, you know what I learned from this? I'm like, I got a bunch of friends. I'm like, I got to meet you. We crawled together for, I bet it was a half mile or maybe more. We had to do 4 laps of that, talking all night, crawling on our hands, doing bear walks, fireman's carries, carrying other people. I mean, it was
sewing.
Yes. So yeah, dude, it was just, so my wrist, I don't have feelings in my hands right now. It's actually, they keep going numb because of all the wrist stuff. Plus, we had to walk on our hands a couple 100 yards, which was like, I would try that, and then I would fall and hit my back.
Zach,
remember I told you, Frankie, I'm sorry.
I think some girl chugged Tabasco, right?
Yeah.
Tell John about that.
So yeah, she chugged.
So wait. Remember I told you I had a guy come in this morning, that I have to let in. So, like, he's here right now. So let me run and let him in. I'll be back in 3 minutes.
All right, we'll pause.
All right, you guys keep it up. I'll be right back.
Let me see if I can find.
It'll drive somebody on the live chat nuts. So go ahead.
Sure. Let me see if I can find some. Oh, Frank, I'll play this one.
Yeah.
If I can, hang on. Where is it?
Fucking hell,
where is it? So this is where. Oh, why can't you see it, motherfucker? Let me see.
See it.
You could see it, but it's not.
Yeah, it's not full. Just see like the lower half.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. I can do it. Ah, there we go.
Oh, there you go.
So this is. I did send this to John, but this is when I had to drink the clam juice. Like,
I didn't see this.
Go for it.
is everybody just down it?
Go for it.
Swallow it, you're good.
Oh, dude.
Nice roll, Kelly.
No, you got a lot still.
Jesus.
Sucking it.
Good roll.
Yeah, keep it.
Roll.
How was it?
How'd you not hurl?
Dude, it was.
Wow.
You were gonna go to the bathroom, pour it out, weren't you? Damn it.
Look at everybody. Wow. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do that, bro. That's wow. I can't hear you. Zach, we can't hear you.
Hello.
There
Can you
you
hear
go.
me now? All right.
Yeah, bro,
Yeah, so-
I don't know how you did that. How much clam juice was that?
8 ounces.
Whoa.
But it felt like a fucking million ounces. You know what I mean?
What did it smell like?
Dude, it smelled like really, really fishy shit. Like it was really like it was gnarly, and I was just so uncomfortable. Then this is the bucket challenge where like you could see like the egg in my mouth. So the other thing was if you broke the egg, you had to eat the egg, put your bucket down, go do 300 burpees, come back with a new egg and continue. And you had to go out a few hundred yards. There was 5 posts and you had to memorize what was written on the post. And they were words and definitions, some in various languages. And I was like, oh my God, this is where I'm really, oh wait, who's that? Rachel Ann. What's up, Rachel? She says, you got it down easy. I quit just before. Oh, you did? Why did you quit, Rachel? You just weren't into it? Like this was something you just couldn't. I get it. But this was where I was like, you know what? I can at least do this. When it comes to puzzles, I'm clearly not the most capable. But yeah, so John, I was telling Frank, if you could kind of see this, this is this is the egg in the mouth. And so and this is the first thing you had to do. You had to go out there, like you couldn't drag. You had to actually hop, like you're supposed to walk on your hands, but nobody could. But if you broke the egg, you had to eat the egg, and then you had to go back, go do 300 burpees, then get another egg and come continue where you were. And then you had to go out to a specific post a few hundred yards away and continue.
This is an amazing. This is an amazing reality show. You take 5 Guido bodybuilders and throw them into this. Oh my God!
Who would come
awesome. No way.
So by
5 would go in, 2 would come out.
And this is actually the one that got me out of the game. So I had to put this on backwards and crab walk to the post. So, however, because the bucket's on my head, I got the egg in my mouth, and it's about 34 hours in. The sensory deprivation, I started to hallucinate in there, like a lot.
Oh,
and
wow.
In the bucket?
Yeah, and like I almost.
What were you
myself,
seeing? Like what? What were you hallucinating? Like what'd you see?
It's like I can't even. There was conversations I was having, but like I couldn't tell you exactly what they were. But they had nothing to do with this race at all. They had nothing to do with anything. It was really bizarre. It was like just out of nowhere, and it would be like I would kind of like find myself almost nodding, but if you stop, like they come and yell at you to keep going. But the issue was I also started taking directions from people, and they were sending me the wrong directions. So I probably went about 2 miles in the wrong way in a circle. Wow. And that was what really slowed me up. And I eventually did get out of it. Never broke an egg, didn't have to do any burpees, but I still ate 5 eggs. Although the first one went down, and the next 4, like I would get them. And also they were warm. They were in my bag for a day and a half in that little container. So an incubator, basically like this little container. The smell of that egg, when I bit into it, it was, dude, I still remember, even though I've had a couple egg sandwiches since, it like I got it down and it got like halfway down my throat and it would all come right back up. And I like there was nothing I could do. And there was a couple times where they would see me, so I'd have to catch it and put it back in. And then finally they were like, look, dude, if you're gonna puke, don't puke on the course, just go puke in the woods. I was like, okay.
So
thanks.
now all this is going on like constantly. Like there's no break, there's no sleeping, there's no. You just
No.
so you were at that point 30 something hours with no rest whatsoever.
No, and that was something that they like different than last year. I'd say was in even previous years, what they wanted this one to be more relentless in that it was not one thing after the other, and it did a good job. So the only quote unquote break was when I took way too long, which put me hours behind that Rubik's Cube. But also, I was the only person that had their feet and body in the water. So my feet, and it started to rain there. So it started raining really hard, and it's cold. And I had, thank you, Erica. I'm a McKine. She said, that's my wife. Thank you. And
Well, look.
Wait,
A lot of respect because, John, you and I could not do this.
No.
You know what I mean? Like,
No.
and I have a lot of respect for people, but when Zach was in that water and like it was sunny out there and it started raining, like you don't realize how cold that water was until you went down and put your hand in it, and he was in it. His boat was deflated, so his lower extremities were in the water. Like when most people had their feet up on the raft and stuff. So his water were dangling in the water, and then he pulled the boat, like I don't want to even call it a boat, the deflated raft over to the to the shore. But there were someone said there was leeches in the water as well.
Oh, of course there is.
I mean, I didn't see any.
So I mean,
Wait, how long? What was the finish time? How long did the whole thing go on?
40 plus. This one was 40 plus hours. Usually it's
the
like
last
it's
one was
between
60, right?
Yeah, it's between 40, usually between 40 and 70, but it also depends, it depends on some of the, it depends on some of the things that they're doing. Like in the 1 year in 2018, which was a return year, everything was extra long, like they had the 12-hour barbed wire crawl, then they had the 8-hour rope pull. Like there's all these crazy weird things. And this one was a lot more, I'd say, varied in what we were doing. But even at the end, here's the other thing. So when they had us break apart a Rubik's Cube, at the very end, you had to put it all back together. They dumped all the pieces in a bin, and you had to go pick them out. And so but everybody had different cubes. They had different brands. You know what I mean? So I was picking ones that didn't even fit. And not only that, the nucleus of mine broke apart. So there's no guarantee that even if I was able to recreate it, that I would have been able to, because I didn't. My stuff wasn't together. But yeah, dude, it also, I forgot that some people, so everyone was doing random, some people, they had them put rocks in their shoes and run laps. They had them put, like, besides the wheelbarrow, they had to do, what was it? Somebody up here just said it. Yeah, like the 3 laps with the rocks, that really wrecked a lot of people. Also, they had them do like, they took the sandbags or 50-pound sandbags and they had to do overhead carries around. And that's like, what, more than a half mile per lap. And you're doing, some people did 4 to 8. It depended. And it was really, what I noticed too was people's shoulders took a beating, right? Because when you're doing wheelbarrow walks around that whole thing, or you're doing crawls, or you're doing bear crawls, that's taxing. And then you have to do your handstand walk. So that is bad enough. And people were just like really dropping. And some people, I totally understand why they would. One lady had surgery on her wrist not too long ago. She's a farmer. And she's like, dude, my wrist is really getting, I was like, you got to leave. You have to, then go. Like you have to provide for your family. This is a game.
Can you do a handstand walk?
I can get a few steps in, and I did. I was probably one of the few that was able to. I wouldn't tell you I could like walk around and like have a conversation, but it's also because, look, man, it's like I'm all wet. It's like I'm pretty tired. My shoulders are burned, so I could get a few steps in, and I did. And I think I do have a couple videos of it, I believe, and I'll pull them up because I just started going through everything, but yeah, that was tough. And then also that guy, Don, this was kind. I was down in my last dry pair of everything. I put on a jacket to help keep warm. And he goes, hey, come here. And I go, huh? Turn around. Somebody dumps a bucket of that pond water on me. And I go, oh. And then he goes, wait a second. Somebody dumped another one. He was like, you look like you need a refresher. I was like, thank you. Thank you. There was it. That was the last piece
You
of dry.
look like you need a mashed nose.
I was like, thank you.
Yeah, right.
Last piece of dry clothing. But I just smiled. I said, thanks for that refresher. Thank you. I knew you
What
cared.
happens when you finish? What happens when you're done? Like when you're done, what's the first thing you do when you're done? Like you change your clothes, you take a shit. Like what's the first thing? That you
I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
honestly, the
Good
first
question,
thing I
Frank.
did, so when I got eliminated, the first thing I did was I went and thanked everybody that was
Okay.
involved with the event. I said, thank you. I know this is a lot. I know that I know that you put a lot into this, and thank you, because I take a lot away from it, and I'm appreciative that I was able to be part of it. And then I go thank the EMTs, and I thank anybody that volunteered, and I start to go talk to the folks that are that I know in the race. Plus, we want to get some content with them, and we did. We got interviews with them, and we spoke to them. But ultimately, I just try to do that, and then I worry about myself. I get my stuff together. I don't want to leave any footprints, so I pick up any trash that I may have left behind, or maybe other people did. And then I take off my shoes. I go check in with the medics, get my license back, because you have to give your license and your car keys before you can participate.
They don't want you
And-
escaping.
No, and then I kind of just hang and I wait, because we had Chris and Patricia there from Muscle and Fitness that were getting content, and I didn't want to rush them. It's not, as I said, it's not about me. I can be the catalyst that gets us there, but the story is the event and the people that participate in it, and I want to make sure that we cover that. And there's people I'm going to follow up with. Scatman's asked what the deal with the boiled eggs. They weren't boiled eggs; they were raw eggs. I wish they were boiled. So I don't know what to say. I'll find. Let me show you. Let me get the. I'll get the link.
So you
that I sent
drove
to John.
yourself back to the. You drove yourself back to the
No,
place, or were you driven?
No, I was driven. So I don't have, like, the thing with me was I didn't drive. So Chris
Okay.
and Patricia drove, so I was able to leave. But if someone was picking you up, you could leave immediately. If not, you have to spend at least 4 hours
Yeah.
there to make sure that you're okay. And some people pass out, so you never know.
Wow.
Zach, I love you, but I wouldn't put you in my car. I'd put you on the roof. You probably smell like a zoo animal, man.
It was bad. It was bad. So here, Scatman, check out that link. That's all the event. That's the task that I didn't finish in time. It was, I think, 22 people ended up not like. No, that was. So he's talking about. Okay, you're talking about this video. Hang on, I actually have this video. I can play it. It does give a little bit of context, and I showed John where I drank the clam juice, which was.
I saw that video. You did a
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
job.
That was horrible.
would-
This is the video
downed
he's
it.
talking about. This is the video he's talking about. So I'll play this. Hang on.
We
And so
Look at how verklempt he
around.
looks.
yeah.
Yeah, we crawled all night basically. Then we did take a.
So you can see the shells start coming out of my mouth too.
somebody That was
Like
involved with.
this is after that first egg, right after I
Martin
ate it.
SGX that passed away from cancer. So we had a quick discussion about it and memorial, and that's what the rocks were for actually. It's really actually a nice thing.
I would rock to
But,
it. kinda.
That's a shell right there.
Yeah, all night we
That was a shell.
did low crawls, bear crawls, and then into the morning we did. I had to do a 10-minute
shells.
side plank.
Oh, that's right. And a 5-minute headstand. I forgot about that.
Oh wow.
What else? Oh, we had to do fireman's carries,
Oof.
4 rounds each, around this whole loop. What else? It was a lot, dude. It was a lot. This has been a rough one. And this egg absolutely tastes like shit. It's like super warm.
How'd the clam juice taste?
Horrible. Horrendous. But I fucking downed it just like this thing. I mean, look, the odds are I'm gonna fucking puke at some point pretty hard.
Oof.
fuck it, I don't care.
So,
Hey Zach,
yo,
there's a video on Muscle and Fitness where the girl has the egg in her mouth and she throws it up.
yeah, I'm trying to find out where. Like, let me see. See.
On
These are
the
videos I
Instagram,
have.
she has the egg in her mouth and she's like,
Yeah, I'm gonna
throws it
find.
Yeah. I saw that.
Oh, I'm gonna find it. I'll find it and share the screen because yeah, it's
She was like puking.
yeah.
Oh,
I mean, and that's what drove some people out, man. Yeah, it was definitely. It was weird though because as soaked as I got, I was okay. Like that's I swear, like that freaking coat I wore. When we were hiking at one point, I had to actually strip layers because I started to sweat at night, and it was like around 60 degrees. I didn't want to do that. I really didn't. So I just kept like finding ways to try to alleviate that. But at the end of the day, I was like, dude, there's no way I can stop this. So I got to stop overthinking it and just focus on hydration. So I would take those. Where are they? I might even have them here. Yeah, these ones.
hydration.
Well, they had these out on the table, and these are these hydration pills that they have, and these are like these caffeine pills with matcha, and so I just saw them sitting out, and I go, are these? No one was taking them, and I go, are these available? They go, yeah. So I just grabbed them, and I just kept them, and I kept taking those electrolyte pills like every. It says take 2 to 3 every 3 hours, like for like endurance. I was eating 1 or 2 pretty consistently. I didn't want to take them all at once. So that was actually what I think really helped. And I just kept drinking water, and I didn't even use my hydration bladder at all. That was my
good.
backup. That was my backup. So I'm still looking. Frank's wearing a looks like I think it's a panda shirt. It's not a Puba. What is a Puba?
There's a panda. Yeah, it's for a charity through Ron Artest, who's a ex NBA basketball player.
Oh,
For
yeah.
a foundation.
Oh yeah,
So,
what is it,
the
dude?
Panda Foundation for various charities.
Oh, that's cool.
I
That's real
just
cool.
a panda, like I told you before, Zach, a panda is cuddly, but also can be ferocious.
Oh, I know. Just like Ron Artest. Ron Artest was pretty ferocious when he
Exactly,
jumped in the
Joker.
stands and beat people up.
That's neither here nor there.
Yeah. All right, let me see. I'm gonna grab this and I'll show it to you.
So I walk into 7-Eleven, and I was getting stares. My panda shirt.
All right, let me see. So Frank, this is the video you're talking about. You can see it up there or no?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
so this is the one.
Give it a shot. Yeah.
I
Watch
can't hear it for some reason. Oh,
We
I
can't
think that's
hear
the
it.
last. That was the last one, Zach. I think the it's a couple behind that one,
oh okay.
but that's cool. It gives you a rundown of all the. Look at that. Yeah, the other one was like a close up of her hurling that egg out of her mouth.
What were they doing against the wall there?
Oof. Buckets of slime.
Oh, that one.
Oh,
Oof.
Oy.
So I got there. I was there for about 3 hours before I saw Zach. So I was down by the pond, and I was like, "Where's like the death race?" They're like the upper caste system of the other races going on. Like they're the people. Like they're the ultimate. But there were other races going on. So I was down by the pond, and they brought in a corporate group, had them in white shorts and shirts, and they thought they were going on a pleasant corporate retreat. They had no idea what they were doing, and they were in the pond. But let me tell you, such an inspirational guy. He was sight impaired, and they were doing like everyone was down in like downward dog, and you had to like they call it the tunnel of love. You had to go through the tunnel, and you had this sight impaired guy, and he's like, I can do it, and he was going through it, and everyone was helping. It was really cool, man. It was like inspiring, but they had no idea what they were like, Joe, the owner, was telling me, and I went down there. Some of these people, I guess, haven't done anything physical in a long time, and they were like, now thrust into this situation where it was like, wow, I have to do this, but
So,
but they were all doing it. It was cool,
seriously,
though.
they thought they were going on some kind of like mushy corporate retreat, and they end up getting thrown in the water
Can
with
you
a Rubik's
imagine?
cube.
Anybody who they're like, I got the s'mores. We're gonna go sit by the fire. And they're in a swamp with leeches.
That's
They
a
were
cool
awesome, though.
surprise.
Yeah, I mean, look, I just said I've already signed up for 2025. I was already accepted.
Awesome.
They've contacted me about doing the winter one, and I was very honest about that. I said I'm scared. I'm really scared of that. Like terrified, because I've heard some horror stories from people there about people are still getting over the frostbite on their feet. They're still
No joke.
I mean,
No
and some of
way.
it's like, they go out on, the ice and they sit there and they have to break the ice until they fall through. Like that is the kind of, it's
Yeah,
another level. Of
hypothermia.
Listen, I have no problems admitting that it scares me, and that's maybe
I
why
don't
I should
blame
do
you.
it. And so, but this is the one you were talking about, right, Frank? This video where this,
Play them all. This is interesting. Yeah.
That one, yeah.
Ugh.
So gross.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
what was the
cool.
thing with the rocks in the water?
oh, and I got to tell you too, if you chose the rock, so when you chose a rock, if you chose a rock that had the same number you already went to, you had to eat an egg and then choose another rock. So, like,
But if they were to make a movie of this, like Zach looked the part,
With-
man, of like the survivalist.
yeah,
You know, like I didn't even know it was him. He was sitting in the boat, like, and I looked over, I'm like, I've been waiting for this guy for 3 hours. Where is he? And they're like, he's in the boat. And I'm like, wow, you would, if they were to pick an actor, I could see you as, right? Can't you see that, John? Like he looks the part 100%.
No, he did. When you sent me that first video, Frankie, of him in the
Yeah.
boat with the Rubik's cube, I thought it could have been Bear Grylls. I mean, it was like he was so into the. He looked just it. If you described to
Yep.
me the scene and then flashed me the picture, it would have been lined up perfectly. It was,
And he was
exactly
more
right.
muscular, and he was thicker too. I saw him. I'm like, that guy's pretty big. Like, like I saw him. Like, wait, is that Zach? Because he had biceps. He's much thicker. He's like more muscular. And I'm like, wow, look at this guy.
it's
There
Bear
was one
Grylls.
big guy there too, Zach. Right? There was
Yeah.
a big guy.
That's
there.
the guy,
He's
yeah,
like,
the guy that had the hip replacements. So, by the way, Bear Grylls with none of the actual skill or knowledge. So it's like the bootleg Bear Grylls,
It's a movie. It's a movie, bro.
Yeah, the movie.
I think they show him in here, and I'll tell you about this guy because I did talk to him a little bit. That's
Wow,
me.
look at that.
So
That guy's big.
it's pitch dark at night. There's no lights or anything, right? You're just like
What's that?
at night.
At
It's
night.
like pitch black. There's no lights. There's no.
Just your headlamp, whatever you
Oh,
got. Your
a
headlamp.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to have two headlamps, and some people used them, some people didn't. I just kept mine on red, so I could just see when I was crawling or whatever, because it's obviously uneven terrain, and people you see people wipe out all the time, or tripping over rocks or tripping over trees, or and also the porta potties, because they had other events going on. Like I just would go in the woods, but I went in there once. What a mistake! What a horrible day to have eyes. It was the piles upon piles. I was like, I went out and I go to the ladies. There was ladies. I go, listen, don't do it. I go, first of all, there was no toilet paper. I noticed that. I go, second of all, you're better off in the woods. You will be, it'll haunt you. What you see in there?
I told you I was talking to a woman, and then two seconds later, I look behind me. She's peeing in the woods because they like totally have no idea what's going on. After a while, you're so crazy or whatever. I was like, wow, everyone's got to go. But yeah, man, Jose was near one of those porta potties, and I said, "Don't do it, man. Don't do it."
No,
It's like a crime scene in there.
I was so cold, and I did have at this point. I had a change of compression shorts and pants. I just dropped trout, and I didn't care.
Yeah,
Listen,
man.
I don't care.
Both bets
It's
are
not
off.
even about. Yeah, exactly. Like I'm not thinking about like, oh, like there's no inhibitions. I want to be warm. And it only lasted about 10, 15 minutes because I then had to get back on the ground. But that I changed my socks, I changed my pants and my compression shorts. And I got to tell you, it was like a new me. I was like so okay after that. You know, like,
You think like how I'm not comparing it all to this, but think about like prisoners of war and what they
Oof.
go through for years and then they
I
get
know.
out. Like that's what it reminded me of, like from the movies, because obviously I don't have any firsthand experience, but
You never
I'm
been a
just
prisoner of
saying,
war?
like, yeah, I'm like, wow, it's like, but
Yeah.
and they make it through for like 5 years, and like the guys from
Yeah.
Vietnam and like those camps and stuff. It's crazy.
That's what. So there, even on this, if people look on this, or even Spartan Extremes post, people are they shit all over. They're like, "What is this? This is dumb. Blah blah. This is stupid." And Joe will chime
Yeah,
in. Joe DeSena, he'll say, "This isn't for you. Like this is."
yeah.
He's like, "What happened was, myself included. I realized that people were finding ways to just train for sport, find ways to just train, and it was kind of becoming easy, or you know what to do." He's like, "This was meant to be the wild horse. This is meant to be, you don't know what you're walking into and you can't train for it. You just have to go do it. And it's not for everybody. So it's not like you're going to go run some and do some obstacles and leave. You don't know what you're going to do. And that's the draw for a lot of people is that. But really the draw is for me is that, again, personally, I come out feeling different each time in a better way. Whether that's, I learned stuff about me, the good and the bad. Like there's stuff that I did come to grips with, when I'm alone, crawling around in the middle of the night in the dark, that I didn't necessarily love. And it was a hard thing to swallow. But I also then decided, and I've talked to Frank about this off the air, and you too, John, that ways I want to make a difference and make changes in my life for the better, to be a better human, to be a better dad, to be a better person, to be just do better things and do bigger things. And that's a win to me for this.
Right.
So that's why I'm already going back again. And I want to get through it for me, not to prove anything to anybody else. I don't care. Like, I don't give a shit if somebody says, "Oh, you when they make fun of me. Oh, Zach's here to fail again." I say, "Yeah, okay." Like, I don't even let it get through to me. Like, cause I just let it bounce right off of me. And that too is also a good mental thing, especially in our business. Frank's talked about the rejections he's had to face as in this industry, as a model, as a person who's pitched things, and a creative person, and a writer. Same with me, and same with you, John. I'm sure you've had stuff, taken away from you, or nope, not this. This isn't for you, and it sucks. But that's life, and that's what this is too. Like, you get a shit sandwich here, you got to eat it, and that's sometimes a good example of what you run into in life. And yeah, some people were doing thousands of burpees in here. I didn't do any, so I'm pretty proud of that too.
Yeah, there you go. That's a win.
This thing will be.
If I went out for coffee with John, right? So John, I'm like, "Hey John, hey, what's dumber, putting on a pair of posing trunks, oiling yourself up, is training for 16 to 20 weeks with PEDs and posing to a crowd, or eating a whole raw egg, or not?" Like, you know what I mean? Pick your poison. Like, you know what I
Right.
mean? Everything's not for everybody. Or like Arnold
Yeah.
said in Pumping Iron, driving a car as fast as you can for a quarter mile. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's all relative. It's what
It's
makes
all,
you
yeah.
tick.
And
Yeah.
what I admire about Zach in this whole thing is the tenacity. It's like, I'm gonna fucking do this, and
Exactly.
I failed 3 times. I'm coming back for number 4, or is it number 5? I don't know what 5. You're coming back for number 5. That's amazing. If it were me, I would have gone through the first one and failed out in the first 15 seconds, and then said, "I'm never fucking doing this again." And then that's it. I would never have revisited it ever. And if somebody brought it up, I probably would have hit him. So I would never be able to do that. And so when I see you throwing yourself at this, not just once, but repetitively, and then trying to figure it out, and training for it, and all all that stuff you do, it's mind-boggling, and it's really like Frankie said before, man, inspirational. To watch you do this is definitely inspiring.
It's awesome.
Man, that
It's-
that's really cool.
What would happen if you anonymously went into one of these events? Because I feel like you're at a disadvantage because of the muscle and fitness thing going into, because you definitely had a target on your back. It's like
Yep.
when a big guy isn't standing by a boxing ring, or, like bodybuilders are always, oh, look at that big guy. He can't do that. Like, I feel like you have a bullseye on you. Like,
I
if
do.
you anonymously went into something else,
That's a
how
good
would
question.
that be different?
That's a good question. I don't know because ever since I was here in 2018, that's the first time I did it. I did 2018, 2019, 2023, and 2024. They immediately pegged me out in that first one. Like they picked me out because I had a camera. That's why they called me Hollywood. There's Hollywood.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this guy, Mr. Hollywood. And like, and look, I've played sports. I have an older brother. I've had my balls busted and I can take it. So it doesn't necessarily faze me. But even I was like, dude, this is this is pretty intense. And yeah, they definitely, they definitely do take it to me. But that's okay. You know why? Because throw it at me, because that's what I need to get. I need to find a way to circumvent that. And taking away from this, what I need to do is I need to work. I'm going to do more puzzles. I'm going to keep going on my Rubik's Cube. I need to buy another one since mine's broken apart. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to solve it, and I'm going to understand how it works. I'm going to do more puzzles. I'm going to keep training similarly than the way I've been training, probably not as intensely, but still weaving that in. I'd like to get back to doing some actual like weight work.
Well, I'm going to give you some advice for the Rubik's Cube for the next time. Get one of those trick Rubik's Cubes that you take apart and put back together, like the design to do that. Okay, so it doesn't say you can't use it in the rules. It says Rubik's Cube, right?
Rubik's
so
Cube.
They
won't be there
one
next
that
year.
comes apart and goes back together again, and then that'll take
So-
you.
But
3
it
seconds.
won't be there. It'll all be different next year. It'll totally be different. Everything.
I see now. From what I've seen right now, I'm thinking like I would bury things in the woods. I would put like I would have put a drop. I would have put like a little like how they used to like the bubble, like the balloon pops up the drugs in the lake. I would have put it in the lake earlier. And see the little bobble up there, and I would have reached back with the boat, pulled it up, Rubik's Cube's all done. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Or you could take like a little Asian kid with you. 'cause
yeah, the one kid that was there popped his boat.
Yeah.
Yeah, get one that's working for you, not against you. Have him do the Rubik's. Have him solve the puzzles for you. And
Yeah, but here's the thing too. Somebody said one of the race directors was saying to Frank, or maybe it wasn't to Frank, but he was just saying in general. He goes, "Man, I don't see why people didn't take two, have one
Yeah.
solved." And I again, that is creative thinking. That is something I didn't think of. Or even, why didn't people started breaking it apart and putting it back together, and then they got caught. They said we couldn't do it, but he's like, why didn't they just have two? And it's like, you're freaking right.
Also, too, Zach, what I learned, they didn't check the Rubik's Cube, right? So if you were one motion away from solving it, you know what I'm saying? Like
They took mine and mixed it up.
not for
Oh,
everybody, because there
I
were
know.
50. There
I
were
know.
50 people in the
for
water,
me.
44 people in the water, and at one point they said, "Okay, you can't take apart the Rubik's Cube anymore and put it back together." And Zach was one of the 10 people that unfortunately that wasn't allowed. But I have video of them, and I said I would never put it. I'm going to send it to Zach. Don was funny, and there were some brutal people who you could tell the difference between funny and act. Whatever. I'm going to send it to you, Zach. But I was chiming in. I'm like, don't be like the Jets.
Yeah.
But I'll send you the video. I was like, I'm not putting anything up.
And look, I appreciate that, Frank. And I also do, as I said, I take that, and I did think Frank's commentary was cracking me up. Some people were getting like super hot about it, but the funny part is that's what the person who runs the race at the end told me. She's like, don't just do the puzzles in silence. Do these hard things, these brain teasers, all this stuff with distractions, have people crying, have noise. She's like, because that's what this is going to be. You're never going to be alone, doing something. You're going to be out there. So this is a funny part too, because that guy, whether it was Don would go around in the beginning too, because he was like, "Who knows me?" And some people would be like, "I know him." Some people didn't, and it was so funny because he'd go up to the people that didn't know him or whatever, and he'd go, "You got a problem?" And they'd be like, "No." He'd be like, "Well, you're going to." And he'd be like, "Oh, okay." He'd be like, "Don't look at me like that." Yeah.
I couldn't stop laughing at this guy. Like he was watching me, he's screaming, and I'm looking at, and there I am cracking up. But at one point, when you were doing the Rubik's Cube, two other competitors walked over, two women, and they're like, "You guys are still in the water. You just need to turn that thing." And one of the women who was in the boat, she looks over, she goes, "Fuck you." She goes, she's like, "That's the advice?" He goes, "Why did I fucking think of it? Oh, just turn it." She's like, "Why don't you get the fuck out?" I was like, yeah.
So there was a guy. So there was a guy in the water with us that didn't solve the cube because he goes, "I thought it was a bluff. I didn't put any effort into this because I thought that they were just doing it to throw us off." Because there are things that they put on there to just get you thinking and to distract you. But yeah, and he goes, and he's won the winter one, or like one. He's gotten through the winter and he's finished the summer before. So he was like, he goes, "Dude, I would not be shocked if this is it for me or all of us." He's like, "Because I told him I didn't do this. I thought you were just joking." I was like, "Oh man."
the guy with the red mohawk.
Yeah,
Mohawk.
yeah,
He was
that
like,
was him.
"All right, man." He goes, "I'll Venmo you money. Anybody can solve this thing. I'll Venmo you money right now."
Somebody goes, "I'll go do 3,000 burpees if you let me out of the pond." I go, that's not a blanket offer. I'm not doing that. Like, let's not do that one if we can help it.
3,000
So
burpees.
next year, this is what we're going to do. We are going to, as a team, we're going to take each thing that you have to do, like the Rubik's Cube, for example, and we're gonna come up with a way for you to get over it. So it's either let's have the good ideas before the race. So 2 Rubik's Cubes, one solved, one not. That's a great idea. One that comes apart and goes back together again. There's another good idea. The quail leg. See, if we had helped you more with this, prior to, and like thought it out and tried to get the workarounds, I think we're going to help you next time.
Well, the other thing that
you should have looped one up and put it in your ass, because
you know what?
like instead of
I should, it would have kept the ticks out. I mean,
Get a keister a Rubik's Cube. That's
how big's a Rubik's Cube?
Forget that idea. It's girthy. So yeah, the one thing too that I didn't do this year, which I didn't even know about, is so now that I'm registered, they do monthly social media challenges that will have a tie-in to the event, right? So I didn't know that. So I only did 2. I missed all of them. So I didn't, and if you do them, you actually get, it gives you like a break, meaning if you have to do 6 laps, maybe you do 4. If you have to have 10 minutes, maybe you get 5. So I didn't do any of them. So I had to do like I didn't get any of the breaks, which sucked. And also I would have known that, shoot, they're doing that. I'm going to have to do this. So I'm going to start to practice this. So the fireman's carry I had practiced with, because I already, even though it's only 60 pounds, with my rec bag, which is between sometimes 50, sometimes 60, and my ruck and my rec bag, which is 60, I'm carrying a good amount of weight, and I'm doing that for miles. So I felt, I sprinted that first lap. This dude weighed $150, and I told him, I go, "Dude, we got to make up time." He actually was one of the finishers. He finished. The guy, he didn't finish the cube, but he finished. And I thought he was going to be out because he was shivering so hard, to the point where I had to hug him at points to keep him warm because he was like convulsing. I thought he was going to like get pulled. He didn't. He made it through. But I told him, I'm like, "Dude, listen, this lap, I'm sprinting, I'm running it, and I'm not going to be able to do it for all of them, but we need to make up time." So I did that. When they also made me carry a bucket full of water around that, I sprinted those, and I put the bucket on my back, I put it on my neck, I put it on my shoulders, I held it and I held it in my hands, so it was almost like doing farmers, like a kettlebell walk or something, or farmers carries. Because I just thought to myself, I got to make up time. I'm not gonna get to the next portion. And they kept reminding us, by the way, guys, it's a race. Don't forget that. And that's why that time hack comes in, right? If I would have been able to, and here was the workaround for the freaking bucket on the back of the head that I noticed that people did later was, and they never said you couldn't do this. If you tilt your head down, hold the bucket and look back, you could see. I didn't think of it until later. Yeah. And I'm
Also,
like,
too, do you have a knife?
yeah. Should
Why
have
don't you
poked the
cut
hole.
holes in it?
I should, dude. You're 100% right. That is the next thing is remembering what is in my pack and not thinking it's going to be used for something specific, but how can I
Yeah, you're
utilize
taking
those
it too
tools?
literal.
Right.
Yeah,
You're
I
taking
am.
it
I
too
am.
literal,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. Frankie, good point. You're taking it way too literal. You got to
Yes.
think.
I would have fucking punched a hole in the bottom of the.
Yeah.
All bets are off. This is the death race.
You're right.
So
You're right.
Even,
Yeah.
even pop the
100%.
top out of the bucket.
You're 100% right, and I think it's because but all of us are used to doing things that, whether it's a sport or something that has defined rules.
Yeah.
Whereas in this case, if you're not told explicitly what you can or can't do, the rules are open to interpretation.
Right.
And that's why in 2018 that they said make a human dam and raise the water 6 inches. Somebody said okay. They went and got their water bottle. And they said, okay, everybody lay down. They grabbed their water bottle and held it up. And they go, okay, you pass. Because there's no way a human dam is going to raise the water. They thought about that. And I was like, dude, that is really, really good thinking.
Yeah.
And that's the type of thinking I need to adopt. And I think it's going to have to come by, doing things that allow me to unlock that portion of my brain again, rather than think of everything as such a strict curriculum or a strict.
I think
A
what
to B.
Frankie just said is the key to the whole thing.
Yes, it is.
Death. You got to
Beat
think
it.
of it as death. If you were really faced with death, you would be more creative, I think. Like cutting the holes in the bucket, I mean, once you assume death, I mean, then there's everything goes at that point, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's brilliant, Frank.
It is.
Yeah, man. You gotta completely undo what they tell. Take it apart and see how you can put it back together, because that was brilliant. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how
Can
you gotta
you-
think.
Can you pack other stuff that's not on the list?
Yeah,
So why don't you take an all-in-one tool?
I
If you
did.
took an all-in-one tool
I
that
had it.
opened up into a wrent, you did to punch.
I did.
Okay,
I
so
ju-
you
He
did.
dude,
just didn't
honestly,
think to do it. He just
I
didn't
just
think of
didn't think-
destroying the bucket.
The only thing I thought of was I had tunnel vision, and I needed to. That's what I.
Yeah.
And that's what I think that they're banking on, right? You're so tired and you're drained that all you're going to do is zombie through it and kind of meander. Where, they didn't say you can't destroy your bucket. They said put a bucket on your head. They didn't say you can't pop a hole in it.
They didn't say it had to be a whole bucket. You
No.
could have cut the whole thing in half.
Exactly.
And worn it like
Yeah.
a necklace.
Exactly. And so that's that. And again, and because the rules are fluid, they may see, okay, well now everybody's doing it, so nobody can do that now. Now you have to come up with a different way to do it. So, but you're
first,
right.
yeah.
You're right. Rather than, I don't know what Halodrol 50 is, by the way. Somebody said that, I thought it was some event, and I'm like, I'm guessing not now.
Yeah,
Halodrol
Halodrol would help.
50?
Yeah.
Steroids.
Can you imagine with the Rubik's Cube and then the Halodrol hits, and then you're like,
All I know is if you took Anadrol,
same thing. You would just your aggression level would get so high, and
I
that
could
cube
see
you would just
Zach-
crush it.
Zach would have went behind one of the boaters and put the choke on him and took his Rubik's Cube. It's like, done.
But you're right, man. Here's some of the things that I've written down, and it's going to grow. I know that. One, I'm going to learn to sew. This is the second time sewing has tripped me up. This happened in another race where I had to sew something on my bib, and it fell off, and I got penalized for it. But even if it's just to know how to do it, that's one.
Frankie-
Two is to have, just like you said, start to take inventory of what I have and different various ways I can use it. That's a big one.
I mean, sewing is not a brain buster. I got to tell you,
No,
the
it's
thread
not, but
goes
you-
in the needle
No.
goes in, it comes back.
Yeah,
out, you
but
do
his
it again.
hands were frozen.
Yeah, but
And
also
just
were you?
Well, what I would do is I'd have the needle threaded ahead of time, so you didn't
They
have
have
to
a
worry
cell.
about
They
that.
have one. They have
Yeah.
the ones from like that are I don't know what they're called, but whatever it's a lot
No.
easier to put it in.
But also John knots. But yeah, sewing in terms of just for efficiency. That's what I want. It's just efficiency.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily for just to learn how to do it or to make some like quilt. It's because I
Right,
want to be efficient with it. And the other thing is I want to learn knots. My
You
fire
imagine
making was ready to rock.
You imagine
ready
Zach
to-
crossing the finish line, and then Frankie hands you like this little thing he made. He sewed
Yeah.
during the race.
Or I'll be
Like
like,
a-
Frank will
like
give
a
me
little
like a
tribute
golden
or
bar.
You would
golden
freeze
protein
to
treat.
death if you do the
like-
winter one. You're supposed to knit yourself a pair of socks.
Yeah, or
Oh,
like
yeah,
something like an embroidered coaster or something that you put on the table.
And but there's also some people there that I think I told Frank this yesterday, that they have military backgrounds and they're coming there
Yeah.
to maybe figure something out about themselves, and they don't need to get through it, because once they hit that spot where they've had that epiphany or they reach what they wanted, they'll say, listen, thanks for having me. I got to go. Thank you. I found it. And guess what? You know what the race directors do? They shake your hand. They give you a hug. They say, great. Thanks for coming. Like and that's all also what they say at the very end of this is, or what Don says. He says, look, this is bullshit. This is a game. Take this and do good in the world. Go do something positive. Take this, what you've learned, and be a tougher human. Like, get through adversity. Go, don't crumble when stuff goes wrong. Find creative ways around it. And I think that's the most important thing. It's not a cheap skull. Like, that's a prop.
right.
You
So-
gotta be there to like get the vibe,
Yeah.
of what's going on. And it's inspirational. Like, look, it's a mental and physical test, it's not for everybody, but I understand it. It's
Yeah.
not like I don't understand it. I do understand it. And I have a lot of respect for the people who do it. And the people that run it are really great people. Joe's a good guy, and I really got a kick out of Don. But yeah, like bodybuilding, like basketball, like anything else, it's not for everybody.
No, dude, here's the thing. I think of it this way. Everything is silly. Playing sports is silly. Like, everything is like, if you really break it down, like, we don't need to do any of it. But this for me is, again, I think there are times that I'm too comfortable because we lead these cushy lives. I can get everything delivered. I don't have to go hunt. I can have Instacart deliver it. I can have food delivered. So to put myself out there and to make myself cold and to make myself wet and dirty and disgusting and push myself is, it's something that reminds me that, it's being uncomfortable is where you grow, and I need to do it more. So it's important for me to keep doing these.
If you want to practice, go into one of these franchise gyms bathrooms.
And take a big,
You want to stop.
yeah, it does, Corky. That's it. Like, the mental portion is what happens. Like, the first X amount of hours, those long slogs of work, are meant to break you down. And it also takes the people that are in peak physical condition, and it puts them on par with some of the folks that are not as conditioned. And then it becomes
yeah.
a mental game. It becomes how differently can you think? How can you push yourself through? Listen, everybody at some point wants to quit. It sucks. Like,
Yeah.
you absolutely think to yourself, what am I doing here? Why am I spending the night like my knees are blown up. I have rashes on both knees. Both my knees are inflamed. My hands are numb still. Yeah, like I probably lost a total of like 10, 12 pounds just in those few days. And
Wow.
yeah, it's like I came out, when I took a shower and I looked down, it's like I was just depleted. And it's okay because, it's the way it goes. But I went in there feeling really good physically, and I came out like feeling good mentally and feeling pretty shitty physically. So like, we'll see how it works.
Mission accomplished, right? Like, now you're on to
Yeah.
the next one. Now you just every event
Yeah.
you get better and better, right? Like, you figure out certain things about how to overcome certain obstacles,
Yes.
which is what you want to do in life. So I get it. Yeah, I totally get it. I mean, I will definitely be there in advisory commentating capacity.
But I also like I would never like that's the thing, man. I don't say to everybody you should do it too. Like there are certain people that I say, hey, why don't you try something similar maybe, or maybe you do want, maybe some people do want to do this. Listen, if I was really down and depressed, like and I have been that like a long in my life. This was something that I think would really help me. This would have helped me more than any medication. I think.
Well,
But that's
what's
personal for
what's
me.
going to help you? What's going to help you even more is next year because I'm coming too, and Frankie and I'll be on beach chairs with a couple of beers.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, I was like, those folding lounge chairs? I'm like, I was just like, John and I would be there. Lounge chairs.
and we'll get like a bullhorn, and like, come on, Zach.
Jose had a bullhorn in the car. We were going to use it, but then they were like, no talking. And I didn't want to I didn't want to overstep. But Jose
And they
had
would,
one in
and
the car.
honestly, they would disqualify me if you push it too far, like, and you start to like get in the way of the event. They will definitely be like, all right, you're out. Like because it's, again, they're there. You can have fun. There's to a point, but then the other thing is, man, as I said, like Frank didn't get to stick around for day 2 because his ankle was all busted. But we that is when too, like you can also tell when the mood changes, right? So that day 2, when we were it was that guy Eric with the white hair, and I will absolutely find some clips of him and show you what I mean. And Don, and when it was much more strict. I mean. And even when that guy was running at the beginning, we had to grab those tires, and the tires were full of mud and water. They'd probably been there for years. And you guys was like, all right, put them around, hold them, put them around your neck. So the water's dumping, the smelly water's there. And we're holding them up. He's like, okay, hold them up overhead, arms locked out, and pick up your feet. He's like, I want you balancing on one leg. And when people would inevitably, obviously break, he'd get right in their face. He'd be like, Did I say to stop? To sprint, start sprinting. So you'd have to start sprinting or start doing burpees, or people that even at the very beginning, as I was registering, they go, "Oh, I need some volunteers." Joe goes, "I need a couple volunteers," and people were like, "Me." He goes, "All right, cool. Go over there and start doing exercises. I need content." and like, not only was it was like brutal stuff, man. I mean, it was not like it was not like air squats. It's like they're doing all like I gotta get the apparatus they were using, and it was, dude. I was like, you never volunteer ever. I mean, anybody has to volunteer. They also at one point they go, "Where's Muscle and Fitness?" And I was like,
you could put anything in your pack. Do you have to get it approved?
no.
All right, so put a stun gun in there and stun the instructor. Game over.
There you go. That's it.
I would buy one of those flamethrowers from Elon Musk,
Hand grenade.
Yeah.
You get cold, I mean, it's
No, but if you put a stun gun in there, right? Like, what's or
That's
pepper spray?
for the guys that are yelling at you. It reminds me of boot camp. I mean,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
It's like
It's-
no
yeah.
right answer.
No.
If it's up, if you go up, down was what you should have done. If you went down, you should have gone up. And then they're screaming in your face this far away. It's
Well, so after I was eliminated, what they had to do was they had to fill up two sandbags, like attach them with screws to their 2x4x6, and then hike a few miles up this trail. Then, as they got to a specific spot in the trail, they had to go and follow clues to find pieces of the Rubik's Cube that would help them complete it. So, and it's also at this point, it's pouring rain. And I mean, it's like it is coming down. So nobody's dry. Everyone's exhausted, and they're going up and down, and it gets pretty steep. So it was, and they had to go do it, and then they had to come back and put it together, and also continue to do more stuff. So it is relentless and nonstop. And that is where I guess it's, I was like, shit, I really wish I would have been able to get to that point, because I did have gas in the tank. I was ready physically, spiritually, mentally. I was ready to keep going. And I think everybody that was with our group was, you saw the people that were like, one woman went out, did the first thing with the egg, and then they came back and they said, all right, well now you memorized the word, you memorized everything. Yep. All right, well now you got to eat it. Why? I didn't break it. So, but no, it's not fair. It's like, so what? Eat it or get out. So she got out. She's I'm done. Screw it. And she
really?
Yeah. She flipped out because she's like, that's not fair. But of course it's not fair. Nothing's fair.
That's the whole
Like,
point. It's
that's
not
it.
fair.
The whole point is whatever you think is going to happen probably won't.
Right.
So you just got to roll with it. And that's what, like when I ate that first egg, when the guy he was like, oh, you didn't break it. I was like, And he's like, all right, well, eat it anyway. I was just like, I gave him like this look like, you motherfucker. But I ate it. And he was like, dude, he goes, the hate in your eyes right now. And I was like, like, I'm good. But then I stomached it. But I will tell you, like that, even that first one, I was like, oh my God, like this, I'm not going to stomach anymore. It was rough. They did get a couple cool, I want to wait. I'd asked them for some of the photos. They definitely got some where I did eat it and I coughed it up and it was all in my beard and it looked really awful. And I can't wait to see that. And
You got to get red contacts or something so when you look up at them, you're like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And, some of the cool things too is afterwards getting DMs from some of the racers and some of the race directors. Like I saw Johnny Red 75 on the muscle feed. He was one of the, they call him the Cryptea, one of the people that are, there to oversee. Super cool guy. And he hit me up and he's like, hey man, like great to see you, great work. And I said, hey, I always love it, win, lose, or draw. And he was like, but there is no losing if you can walk away with this with things that you've learned. Like that's the whole goal.
Yeah.
It's not about winning. You don't win anything. You win by participating and finding things out about yourself and where you want to improve. And that is what I keep reminding myself of, right? Is that, yeah, like I didn't get through. I did not finish, but doesn't mean I lost completely. There's a lot that I take away from it. And yeah, man, I'm motivated. Like if I could feel my hands, I would train hard today. But also both my big toenails are going to fall off. So they're really sore today. So I'll probably just do some really light training, but I'm getting back into it. Like my prep starts today. Like I'm not taking a break.
So when you woke up the
Yeah.
first morning back in your own bed in your house, what hurt the most?
Well, I didn't sleep very well because my hands were burning all night. So I'd have to wake up, shake them out. I almost actually had to sleep sitting up because anytime I would lie down, my hands would just burn. So it was constant all night.
What was that from the cold?
No, I think it's from all the trauma on my wrists from crawling, bear crawling, like standing on my hands. Like my wrists are really sore and really inflamed. And yeah, and also like I think a lot of the weight just in the first thing that happened too in 2018 was a brachial plexus. It really strained it hard, and I had the same thing. But I'd say this is 5 times worse. Like it's really bad. So the first thing that I noticed that hurt was that, and then my toenails when I put my feet in the ground, it was like one of these like one of those. And then
was that because of the cold?
No, that's probably I think it's a couple of things. One, I think it's just the the footwear I'm wearing I'm always wet, so there's that. Like my feet were wet. Like I had some pretty gnarly trench foot, which we got some pictures of, and my toenails just take a beating. This happens every year; they fall off, but this is the sorest they've been. But other than that, honestly, I was ready. I wanted to get out and do more. I wanted to go and train. I wanted to start getting back at it. So I guess in that sense, you were right, John. Physically, I feel as though I am in a spot where I'm good to go. It's the creative problem solving and some of the technical skills that I have, I would have learned if I had been a scout or if I went into the military, like those basic things of survival, and they are basic. And I just don't have that yet. So listen, kids, do scouts or join the military or something, like learn this stuff.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Survival courses, survival know-how, I mean, you think about, because we live such a cushy life, there's no, you turn on the stove if you need to cook something. You don't have to make a fire, right? But not knowing how to make a fire could be a tremendous detriment under certain situations, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, everybody should learn how to survive, like with nothing. The cold, the wet, how to make a fire, how to get warm, how to find water, how to not get sick. Things like like you said, very basic, tying knots. I mean, very, very basic stuff. Most people don't know it, and those are the kinds of things that could save your life in a very minimal situation. I mean, hypothermia kills people really quick, and it's something that it could be totally avoidable in a lot of situations.
So one of the dudes that that finished, and he finished last year too. His name was Daniel Gordon. He's a military guy. He's considered this as semi-retirement because he's moving to Japan. He's stationed there, and his wife is going to be his wife is also in the military. So we were talking though. Even he was like, after last year, I had trouble with the fire, so I started to do things differently. He's like, I started soaking the cotton balls. I soaked them in Vaseline rather than just use like specific things for kindling. It's like that is an immediate spark and will get things going. And I did that in previous years, but this year I was ready, dude. I was ready in terms of fire, and I didn't use it. And I didn't use my axe. There was so many things I had that didn't use, but damn, it's like I really wanted to show off that I could make a flame this year, but that's the way it goes. And next year, here's the other thing. The previous year, we were in the water doing all those exercises, and that water is freaking cold for hours. And I mean, we're in and out. People were shivering. People were getting hypothermia, taken out. And we were in the water for 10 minutes this year. That's it. Like that water, like the river itself. But so it just goes to show how varied this could be. We also didn't hike a ton. There's times where we've hiked the equivalent of 2 marathons with 70-pound sandbags on our back and all of our gear. So you just never know what you're going to get into. And that's kind of where, I just kept telling myself, it's just like I told you, John, step by step. This will be over at some point. I need to get to the next spot. I see a flag. I'm going to get to that. I see a tree. I'm going to get to that. I see that. I'm going to get to that. I'm going to take a break right there. And I'm going to look up at the sky and look at the stars and remind myself that that's all I kept doing was finding a way to just talk through it. And, I don't know. It was great. I loved it. And I know some people are like, oh, you're going around playing in the woods. I don't think it's that at all.
It's not playing.
I don't think it's playing. I think it's a lot.
Suffering.
So that guy fixing my tractor is done. I gotta go pay him. I'll be right back.
All right.
You gotta go back.
But
Joe's got a lot going on this morning.
But also, like you said, Frank, like it is a different look. There's still like fitness and strength involved. It's not like, it's not like the skinny, like if you're just some person off the street going into that, you're doomed. So lifting weights and being strong definitely helps you in so many ways. And
definitely. You need the endurance. Obviously, you need beyond just functional. Like I guess you'd have to lift weights because
I think so.
Just body movements aren't gonna help because you have to lug around 60-pound bags and things over your head and throw stuff out. So, I mean, it's all encompassing: weight resistance, endurance, stamina. Like you have to address all these things before you and flexibility and stuff because you're in certain positions for a long period of time where you need that flexibility and mobility in your body to do them. So it's definitely you have to follow some sort of not just a regular I'm in the gym, but a all-encompassing program that hits all those things.
We'll do like a 10-minute plank, and we could only pick. So if you had to pick a side. You could either do 10 minutes or 20 minutes if you did both sides. So of course I picked 10, but I got to say, a 10-minute plank is something that I have not done, and I have not done it obviously after 20 plus hours of exercise. So it was cumulative. So it's not like I could do 10 minutes straight. But the stranger thing is, I got stronger as it went on. So I did it at first. I probably got 30 seconds and dropped. Then I got like 20, dropped, and then I'm like, I'm gonna be here all day, man. Like get going. So then it started to get a minute, 2 minutes. And then by the end, I think the last 3 minutes I did it. And I will tell you, I was shaking. My arm was throbbing, but I just shut my eyes and the guy running the clock kept telling me like, dude, 45 seconds left. You got this. Like, and he's like, dude, 30 seconds. He's like, stick with it. Like, don't drop. He's like, and and I don't know if he was supposed to do that, but I think he could see that the people that were there, that we were all like determined, it was kind of some of the people that were behind because of that cube. So we were really like doing our best to make sure that we got up to speed. And yeah, like that's a reason probably like my shoulder, like I couldn't do my right shoulder because that was the one that was bothering me, which didn't bother me at all during the event. It's crazy, right? I didn't even feel it.
Because your adrenaline's going, and
Yeah.
then you feel everything afterwards. You're gonna start feeling things this whole week. They're
Yeah.
just gonna pop up now. It's like, I mean, is there anything that you're doing from a recovery standpoint that you would suggest to people?
Right now, I'm gonna go. I do have those hyper ice compression legs things. I'm doing that. I do have
Definitely.
I'm rolling. I got my like lacrosse ball. I also have foam roller. I'm gonna do. Definitely gonna do some cold plunge just to kind of loosen myself up, and I'm gonna get back out and exercise. Not crazy, but move. I'm gonna walk a little bit. I'm gonna jog. I'm gonna do some very low impact stuff just to make sure everything is in working condition. But
Yeah.
that's what I'm gonna do because I'm realizing too, and this is what I would do when I was playing sports as an athlete, is I don't like to take too much time off because that's when I start to get rusty and that's when I start to get the kinks start to set in. So if I keep moving, that's going to be
That's
That's
what
gonna be-
winners do.
Yeah.
They keep moving forward.
But I will say, so on a different topic, John, you keep getting a lot of questions about Alabama. I don't know what Alabama is or was. So if you want to jump in,
Yeah.
It was a bodybuilding contest in Montgomery, Alabama. It was really good. And the promoter flew out all of the guys I do the Whack Pack podcast with on RX Muscle. So we had all of us out there. Jimmy the Bull went. Jimmy the Bull actually left New York, Frankie.
I can't believe it.
They had to put $1,000 bill at the end of a fishing hook and hold it in front of him, but he went. And so it was a great trip. I had a great time. We had a lot of fun. There's all kinds of content on Instagram and Facebook if you guys are interested. But yeah, it was a great time.
cool.
So remember I told you I got my blood work, right? So I'm waiting for my package today to come from Transcend, so I can start my protocol. But I went in for that lymphatic massage and the trigger point. So
Doesn't that hurt?
Oh my dude, my friend Andrea does it. 2 hours I was there. She goes, oh my God. She goes, you're a mess. 2 hours. I was like, Jiminy Cricket. She's like, I never heard of that one before. Like, I needed a safe word. It was so like she was going. She had a finger in my
because
lap.
where the lymphatic parts are like in here and inside your legs, and it's not just pain. There's a weird feeling about it, right? You ever get your blood pressure taken, and when your pulse starts coming back, and you get that weird feeling, it's terrible. And I can't. People tell me I did a lymphatic massage. I go, you're fucking nuts.
But there's a picture. She did one shoulder and the other. The difference after the definition and the swelling is so much, like the inflammation in that shoulder is so much different than the other one. It's like crazy. But the my hip, I was like, my lower back's killing me since the 481-pound squat at Bev's. She's like, it's not your lower back. She said, it's your hip flexors are so tight. So she was in there. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like she was in there. And then I mean, for a while, and I was like, wow, my back for the first time. The next day, I was like, it did not hurt whatsoever.
Oh
I
wow.
have a torn bicep. She went in there. She's like, did my shoulder, but where your lat insertion is on the side was brutal. But
Yeah.
after somebody, when somebody does something for 10, 15 minutes and then they're like, okay, how do you feel? And you're like, oh, I don't know. But then they put their finger back in it and there's no pain. So there was previous pain. So you know what she did worked
Right.
because
Right.
now she's touching it. There's no pain. So I went to the gym today and I did back, buys, calves, abs, whatever. And I felt amazing. Like I actually felt amazing. I already started taking the omegas with the D3, well, omega with the D3 and
Right.
multi mineral. I started taking the tesmorelin, GH peptide,
Okay.
and I just took a tamoxifen today. So, because I'm waiting right now for HCG and test. So they're going to use the HCG to keep I'm going to do a very low dosage. So I'm waiting for all that to see what happens. But I woke up and I was like, wow, I was actually happy with the way I felt for the first time because last week
Cool.
I went to the gym one day and I was like, it's the first time in my life I couldn't work out. My body was just done. So I was like, wow. So this like reinvigorated me. So I'm waiting right now for my my, my package, which now that everybody on this podcast is on testosterone, so
Yeah. Exactly.
take it
Right.
for what you
We all of us
take
are.
it for what you want. Take it whatever.
Listen, hey
Don't
man.
judge us.
No, dude, judge me all you want. Again, I feel like a human being again. So
I was going to ask you. You said you felt really good during the race. I mean, do you think any of that's attributed to your new hormone protocol?
That's a good question because I felt good last year during the race, but here's the thing, I felt worse leading up to like basically after last year's race, things got worse in terms of how I felt, right? So I felt better this year, and I definitely do attribute that to it. But do I think it must have helped in some way? Absolutely. I won't say it didn't, but yeah, I just think that I had fallen so much from the previous year.
Right.
it took such a worse turn that there's no way it couldn't have. So yeah, I'd say it probably does, but overall, yeah. But I've been feeling better since taking it anyway. Like I mean, just
Normalized.
talking, yeah, exactly, normal. I feel like a normal person.
For those out there, he's not doing it for a bodybuilding thing. He's doing it for a help to
No.
normalize, to get
Right,
a
right.
normal reading on his testosterone levels and
Right.
hormone levels and
Yeah.
everything else. Because why should he suffer for
Right.
the taboo of not doing it? It's like, shut up.
No, I mean, but that's the same thing. With Frank, when you get your blood work and you're
Oh,
seeing
wait,
things
I'm
that
not on anything right now. Wait, so while I take 50 milligrams of test, it's all going to be contributed to that. Shut
well,
up.
yeah, but the thing is, you also train your ass off. You live a very like a disciplined lifestyle. But it's like I don't know. It just bothers
There's
me
a
that like
difference. There's a distinct difference between normalizing your range and your free testosterone
Yes.
than being a purple, bald-headed, 7
Zit
zits on your
covered.
traps,
yeah.
turtle shell belly, 50-year-old bodybuilder in the gym. There's a
Turtle
distinct
shell belly.
difference between that and
Right.
normalizing your testosterone level because you're older.
Right. But you know what? It's like, listen, you can't, I'm not going to say that there aren't benefits. Like Frank said, hey man, you looked thicker, probably from the testosterone.
I did, yeah,
And
you
guess
look
what?
great.
Yeah,
Probably.
fine. You know
Yeah.
what? Okay, good. That was never like that wasn't the intention, but you know what? If that's a byproduct, fine. Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
Sounds good to me.
Especially
I'm
the
not
way
gonna-
you train, of course. Absolutely.
Well, look,
No.
man, I'm going to pour tomato juice in the Ferrari gas tank, and it's not going to do shit. Right? So if
Exactly.
like, what do you know?
Romano, I got a
Color
question for you.
match.
Has
Color
John
match.
ever? I've asked you this before, John, but I think I didn't know the answer. Have you ever considered doing a Masters men's physique?
No.
A quick pump says he thinks you'd be great.
No.
Here's what
It's
you have to do in order to get
disrespectful.
me. Here's what you'd have to do in order to get me to get back on a stage. You'd have to put a noose around my neck, lift me up with a crane, build the stage underneath me, and lower me back down with the promise of a $7 million paycheck. That's the only way I would ever consider getting back on stage again.
Okay.
Someone, it's so
But,
funny. Like
but thank you for the
perception.
compliment.
Yeah, the perception that people have, like, and John gets this all the time. Hey man, would you ever do men's physique or classic? And you're like, I was a bodybuilder. I was 270 pounds on stage. I'm 240 naturally. Like, where am I going with this? Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I don't get it. Like, it'd be bodybuilding. I think when you're older and you've been a bodybuilder in the 90s or whatever it may be, it would be very difficult because at that time your mindset is to be the biggest and most ripped
Right,
bodybuilder that you
right.
possibly can be. So now to change that up, it's a different mindset. Because also too,
I
you have to be
really,
shit poor.
that too. I really appreciate the compliment. I take it as a tremendous
Course. Me
compliment
too.
that
Yeah,
someone would think I would do well in a contest. I really
you
appreciate
would.
that.
Yeah, of
But
course you would.
the thing is, I last competed in 1983. Okay, I don't even know how many decades ago that is. It's so,
Michael Jackson.
to think about doing that again, and
Same
all
here.
and that was old school those days. I mean, that was so
Yeah.
hardcore. I mean, we didn't know half of what we know now. So I mean, to get back in that head, like you just said,
Yeah.
being broke, being early in your
Hungry.
life, be hungry, willing to suffer, able to suffer, not having other responsibilities that you got to deal with, and make consider other people. Bodybuilding is such a selfish endeavor. It is the most selfish thing on earth to do, and I just don't have room in my life right now to do that. So while I really appreciate the compliment, and I do take it as a compliment, I just would the idea of competing, it's just not.
I've always said this. I respect anybody that puts themselves out there and legitimately tries to win a
Right.
show and gets up
Yeah.
there. I mean, it takes a lot, and it's a good goal to have for sure. And I wish I was born later because it is a lot easier to be a bodybuilder now.
Oh my
Access to
God.
things, it would be, I mean, the information, the access to things that you would need. I mean, it's completely so much easier.
I went from having to do 3 hours of cardio a day in the 80s, okay, to now I do no cardio. So
Yeah,
I was able to figure out how to replace 3 hours of my life, that I would
yeah,
would not have to do. Right, I could get ready for a show right now and do no cardio, none, zero, and
yeah,
I could
yeah.
never. Back then, that was unheard of. No one did that, So
Mhm.
that,
John's right.
that's
Some people did 3 hours a day. They
yep.
wake up afternoon and night. And now, if you had that, if you could go back in a time machine and you had the knowledge that you have now, you'd know that if you dropped the time intervals in between sets and drop sets, and you manipulated your carbohydrates and certain supplements and things that you could take, he's right. I mean, it's like you basically wouldn't even need to do you wouldn't even need to do that. I mean, there's so many different things, even food. Knowing now
Yeah.
dietary stuff and knowing trial and error what works in your body. That's
Yeah.
why
Yep.
so many bodybuilders in their late 30s and early 40s are so much better than what they were. Like that's when they went to Olympia and stuff like that because
Mhm.
they know their bodies better now. Like, it's a huge period. And that's why I laugh at these people who are like, oh my God, I didn't get my Procane after 2 shows. It's like, it's a marathon. Like I talked to Ashley Kwalwasser the other day on the Olympia Instagram. She won 47 pro shows,
Wow.
47 and 3 Olympias. And I said to her, I'm like, tell me what do you do like in the off season and stuff? She's like, I never get more than 10 pounds
Right.
out of shape. she's like, I said, so what's harder, putting on size or getting cut? She's like, wow, that's a good question. I don't know. She's like, I guess if I had to, is putting lean mass on or what have you. But she's like, as a representative in the fitness industry, she's not going to be one of these people you see on a milk carton. Like, who's that missing?
Yeah.
Like, they're 200 pounds. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so she took it serious. And like, how do you dispute that? Like, if I'm somebody like, yeah, you need an off-season to pack on the mass and do the. She won 47 pro
Right.
shows.
I think
Like,
that's more
how
than
are you
Dexter
supposed to
Jackson.
say, like, you don't know what you're doing? Like, she knows what she's doing,
Right.
But
I think
isn't
that's
that
more
like,
than Dexter.
Yeah.
but
Way
here's the
more.
thing. But isn't the thing though that just because it works for her doesn't mean it may not work will work for somebody else, right? So she's
True.
figured out how to how everything can work and she can stay where she wants to be. Whereas if somebody else just blindly follows that and says, I'm going to do the same thing. And the funny thing is, if it doesn't work out, they'll be like, well, they'll blame her. Like, well,
Yeah.
she's the
Or
one
they
that said to
coach.
do this.
I blame George Farah. Now I'm going to
Yeah.
go to Chris Aceto. No, I go to Chris Aceto. Now I'm going to go to
Yeah.
this guy. I'm going to go to that. I'm going to go to the like. Everyone's got to blame somebody. No one's going to blame themselves.
Right.
you
Of
know?
course not.
Of
We
course
No,
not.
don't live
Like,
in that age.
No, that's
I mean,
silly.
look, who blames Hani Rambod? Is it Hadi blame him or does Derek blame him because he trains both of them, right? Like,
Yeah. How does
you know
that
what I
work?
mean?
You know?
Yeah.
I don't know how that works. Like, he's not responsible. He's won an Olympia title for both of them, so
Yeah.
multiple. So like,
Yeah.
who do you blame? And C-Bum, and I think Hadi train. I don't know how many Olympia titles. There's 22 between everybody, between
Hadi,
Phil,
probably,
Nicole
yeah.
Wilkins, all those crazy.
All of them. Yeah. He's got tons of them.
Yeah,
So
but you're right, dude. But if it doesn't, I mean, but I also understand. Look, if it's not working, you make a change. But to blame somebody like that, it's kind of like Phil Jackson. He didn't win with a specific team, so it's his fault. Like, well, not necessarily. Like, it's he can win. He's proven he can win.
You got Biden blaming his staff for his poor debate performance. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, that was actually one of the greatest things about being out there was I didn't have to be inundated with any bullshit like political stuff or anything like that, like any just distraction. It was, and I really enjoyed it. It was this disconnect. Also, Frank was out there. It's not like there's a ton of service. You're in the woods, you're in the mountains,
Nothing.
and it's like there's nothing. And
There's
it's like
nothing.
you might get a bar, but most of the time my phone up top just said SOS. It was one of those, so I was like, I'll just turn it off. Whatever.
I was
Fine.
like,
Frankie, did you have a hotel? Were you going to stay in a hotel if you didn't turn
I
your
was gonna-
ankle?
I was gonna stay with Zach. I was
Yeah,
gonna stay
but
with Zach in the they had an Airbnb. So
But
I
it was,
actually
it was
went-
also a mess, and I so here's what happened. We got there late the night before the event, but I was also interviewing Joe DeSena at 5 a.m. He went and did a cold plunge, in the river with some people. He did his morning cold plunge in there.
Oh, on Friday.
And, yeah, so I met him at 5, interviewed him. So basically, and I still had to get all my stuff ready. So I had to paint a rock. I had to still put some stuff together. So by the time I got all that done, I got to bed. It was like 2 or 3 o'clock. Woke back up at 4:15, did the interview, came back, got like a half hour more of sleep, and then went back to register. So I didn't have time to clean up, and it was a total mess. And I apologized to Chris and Patricia too on the way out. I was like, typically I would at least move it because I also didn't want to move my stuff into any room in case Frank or Jose were going to stay there, and I didn't want them to have to deal with any of my stuff. So basically, I just ran out of time.
Yeah.
Like it would have been better if I had gone up the day before and started.
Yeah, I
that.
wanted
Yeah.
the worst thing possible, John. I was like, it wasn't in the plan. It took us about 6 hours. It's a nice ride. It's all wood, go down to Comic Parkway. Took us almost 6 hours to get there, and then we left like 6, 7 o'clock at night and drove 6 hours back.
Wow.
So
Well,
Yeah, it
Frank
wasn't
had
like
his
we're on-
foot out the window the whole time too, so he was like driving to
no,
elevate
you
it.
know what's funny? So Jose started lighting up the car, man. Right, like farting. So I go, all right, game on. So I went into I don't know, one of these truck stop places, and I got one of the most disgusting desserts. It was like a chocolate moon pie made of like sugar. So I said, just wait. I blew up his car like 35 times, right? You know where his desk? So he calls me the next day. He goes, I just cleaned out my car. He goes, there was a brown stain on my seat. He goes, so he goes, but I realized it was
Oh, it was the chocolate.
So I said, I wanted to be there the moment that you went down to sniff that chocolate. Was it chocolate or was it duty?
Oh man.
So it's the moon pie. That's what I was laughing.
Oh, that's
But
great.
yeah, it was funny though.
Oh, that is funny. Oh man. Well,
But
we've
nah,
gone
at
on
least
for
I got
about an
tan.
hour. Do you want to keep going? We're at hour 45. If you want to keep going, I'll keep going. If you want to quit, we'll quit.
Let's wrap.
Almost-
Let's wrap because
yeah, we'll
it's
wrap it up.
11:30. I got a post for the Olympia. Everybody out there, key to the city. Olympia got the key to the city in Las Vegas.
Oh
Go
wow.
check out all the stuff. Yeah, we have a lot going on.
So what
On
does that
Thursday,
unlock?
we're
What does
back-
that key unlock? Like when you get a key to the city, is it just symbolic of like, hey, you're part of the team, or
It
what
opens
is
the
it?
VIP room at every strip club on it.
Dude, then it's a very big value, obviously, because there's
Well,
many
yeah, right.
strip clubs in Vegas.
It opens
Yeah.
up the 53.
Is it one of those really big keys too? Like, is it like one of those huge, like when you get the oversized check when you win something? Is it like one of those big keys?
Like Happy Gilmore when you
Yeah,
have the
yeah.
big checks in the car.
When
I
when
don't
you
know.
you should, well, that's a good question. When you get the key, you should say, "Can I also get a printout of every the door this key unlocks?"
Yes.
He's just giving
And
you
a
the
map.
key. I mean,
Yeah,
what's
and a
the
map.
key without the lock?
The key.
If one does
don't know,
not
like-
seek the other, neither will fulfill its destiny. So
Didn't Batman get the key to the city? I don't know. Like that's a big
That's-
thing. I don't know.
I
anybody
mean,
gets-
the Olympia's in good company. If Batman's got it too, like that's fantastic. Like I would want to be in that group. I'd want the key.
Well, yeah. I could have been. I could have been at the resorts, right, Zach? I was going to be
Yeah.
in Las Vegas at the resort, and I was like, nope, I'm going.
And I would have understood. Obviously,
wouldn't
like
have.
I appreciate that, and I would have understood because that's how it goes sometimes. But Frank was like, no, I told you, I made a commitment, and I'm gonna stick with it, and I really appreciated that. Honestly, thank you.
It sucked that I got hurt. I wanted to stay. I was like, I would have loved to stay for the second day and see the egg thing and all that.
The vomiting would have really
Awesome.
I think you would have had a lot of things to say about that. And the thing is, we don't always do you don't always have to eat weird shit, but people, sometimes though people just vomit just from the exertion, sometimes it's too hot. Like sometimes, like the year before when we had our legs shackled and we were hopping around in a field, people got overheated and they would drink too fast and they would just come all up, or like they would just drop. Like you'd see, poof, just drop. And the good thing is, too, they obviously have a medical staff there and they're really on top of it. They get to you quick, and they do tend to you. Like nobody wants you to get hurt. Nobody wants you to, obviously, it's a death race, but nobody wants you to die or to be seriously hurt. It's definitely a possibility, and you sign waivers that absolutely say, if something goes south, it's my fault. I don't hold anybody here, accountable. But yeah, I definitely was hoping that you'd get a bird's eye view of that rather than seeing me sulking in depression inside of a beaver pond.
Well, I mean, I'm sensitive to smell. I would have had a lavender rag in there or something, or peppermint oil in my nose.
Well, I mean,
great idea, Frankie. That's amazing.
Well, yeah,
Peppermint oil, stick it in your nose.
Yeah, like they do when the what do you call them, when the coroners go to investigate the
dude.
murder scene where the body's been there for like 4 weeks.
Listen, I learned the first week in hot yoga after people machine gun farted next to me. I was like, I'm not doing this. I took the peppermint oil, I put it in my nose. I forget it. I couldn't take it, but I was like, it works. I put too much in there, and I almost burned my brain. You know, when you put it in there, I'm like, oh. And then you also have the one woman. She's like, smells like candy cane is in here, and I'm like, well, better than shit.
candy canes. I mean, I'd take that. Yeah, over the.
I always wonder about that in yoga. Do a lot of people fart?
Yeah. Yeah, the hot yoga.
I
Absolutely.
would imagine they would. Well, twisting their bodies in all those positions liberates the flow of noxious
So
fumes.
I will tell you
bending
this
over.
too. So there was when I was doing the fireman's carry with one of the dudes, I picked him up and like I put him on my shoulder and gave and it was like right in my face, and I was like, I'm
Sorry,
like, yeah.
dude.
He's like, yeah, sorry about that. I'm like, honestly, it's fine at this point.
How
Like,
many photos, like leg day, when you're training with somebody, like,
yeah.
and you're ready to squat? I mean, there's going to be times where you just fart, man. It just happens.
happens.
That's
That's
why
the
we
way
do
it goes.
photo shoots. And there's like 37 people around you, like cameras back in the day, umbrellas. And you're going down on the squat and you're like, you try to hold it in, you're like, and then you're going down, you're like, you know it's coming, and you go,
Oh my God.
Oh, man. All right. Well, hey, John Mancini Fitness, you're a little late. We're just about to wrap up, but guess what? We're going to come back Thursday. So, time of our lives. You should rewatch this and like it and share it and do all the
Yes.
amazing things that can help us get the word out. We'd appreciate it. And
Well,
thanks to Frank for. Go ahead, dude.
just remember, we're next. We're gonna figure out. We're gonna be on the We're gonna put this on the Olympia as well. Now, Zach and I spoke. We're gonna put it on the Olympia thing. And we're gonna see how we're gonna get it on Instagram as well, which would obviously boost us by like 8 million people. So we're
Yes.
gonna try to do that, and we're also gonna start breaking into segments. We're gonna have some for the next 13 weeks, Mr. Olympia competitors on here. But only for a certain amount of time. We're gonna give everybody like a half hour. That's it.
Yes,
This
so
way
that way we
can
can
get that-
still talk about all of our stuff and get that in there, because that'll help us expand. And at some point, Frank, this week, I mean, maybe even tomorrow, if you want, we can jump on and just test the Instagram thing. I'll test it on.
Totally.
Listen, if we put it on my personal one, nobody will see it, so that'll be perfect if you just test it there.
Well,
and then-
yeah. Go ahead, John.
I've actually made a new commitment that I'm actually going to spend time on Instagram now.
Cool. Listen, yeah,
I'm
that'll
going to
help.
really try to really do it.
What transformation? Who needs to do a transformation contest, Natalia?
Yeah,
Who's that?
who needs to do a transformation? Yeah, maybe we could transform us into great.
Why don't you do this? Like, which protocol do you want to follow? Frank's, Dax, or John's?
Don't follow mine. I'm telling you that. You don't follow mine because everybody will be miserable.
But we should do that. We'll spin around in our chair, like on that view, whatever. Like, what do you?
It's like door number 1, door number 2, door number 3.
Or that go.
And one of them is going to be a donkey.
Remember that board game Clue? Do you want to be
Yes.
in the bathroom with Zach with Sippany, or with John in the library with Trent?
Oh man, that would
That would
be
be
funny.
hysterical.
All right, well, we'll take that into consideration, Natalia. Find a deserving person and to transform them. We'll consider that.
Yeah, that'd be
totally.
interesting. We could make a science project out of somebody.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
There's too many snowflakes out there to mentor anybody. That's the problem. There's
Yeah.
got to be, not everybody's cut of the same,
No.
thing anymore. It's sad. It's because you tell people.
But I think
what to do.
Natalia has a good idea there.
I do too. I think that would be a really good thing.
I think we should do something with. Let me talk to Mr. Solomon, see if we can get some Olympia tickets
Yeah.
for the segment to give away for something, and
That'd be great.
we're gonna start doing some Seppi protein treat giveaways and some of the Jack Taylor PR stuff, possibly.
I think that's a good idea. You listen. You definitely want these. I'm telling you.
I
Don't,
ate six. I ate six in the car going to Vermont. Yeah, I ate 6 of them with peanut butter.
When I trained with Big Lenny, I have never met Big Lenny, but I doubt we would probably have the same training styles. I'm sure that his would be far heavier and probably crush me under a lot of. No, that's not how he trains. I don't know. I don't know him, but the way that he called Big Lenny sounds like he's a big guy. I don't know.
Sounds big.
Yes.
Big. The word "big" can be interpreted many different ways.
What? So like he's got like what he's like a big down there, or like he's like? Do you mean that, or is that is that what that's about? Like
I would never have looked. At,
I don't
to-
know. I don't, who knows? But people do get nicknames, and they rumors happen, and
like
there's
handsome Harry.
yeah, exactly. Or like you
Yeah,
call
right,
tiny,
exactly.
you call big guys tiny, or you call tiny like tiny guys like big. I don't know. It's who knows.
There's a fly in my house that like he looks like almost like a hummingbird. That's how big he is. And he keeps banging into the screens. I'm gonna have to use like a bazooka to shoot him out of the sky.
There's a friend of mine has this gun. It's like an air gun that shoots a little wad of salt.
Oh,
And-
really?
Yeah, so it's like a shotgun with salt, and he shoots bugs with it. But
Good idea.
so I don't know if it's a cartridge or he pumps it up. I can't remember. But you go on. He has a screened-in porch, and you sit out there in the screened-in porch, and I'm looking at the screens, and they all have these little holes in them. And I go, "Why are there holes in your screen?" He goes, "Oh, that's from shooting the flies with the salt gun. It actually goes through the screen." I go, "Why are you wrecking your screens with it?" He goes, "I fucking hate those bugs." I go, those strips with the tape that they stick to, or spray, or a bomb,
Yeah.
or so you call this exterminator. I mean, there's a lot of choices before you go poking holes in your screens. But
I don't know. There's
When it comes to bugs.
this one's flying around. I gotta close the back door. I forget that I live in the woods. So woods back there.
yeah,
There's deer back there.
I had
There's a whole
4 of
bunch.
them on my lawn last night.
Yeah, there's
Yesterday
two back
afternoon.
there.
That's
You know,
so
with
cool.
deer
Deer?
ticks.
Oh, deer
Yep.
ticks. Ooh.
Yep. I had
Yeah.
two does and 2 little babies just
Aw.
grazing on my lawn.
I'm shutting his door. Fuck you, flies. So we're back on Thursday.
We're
Yep,
back on Thursday,
Thursday.
everybody. So back on. Do we want to start to do this earlier? Like, should we try to do it earlier? Or do you like to keep it at 10? I earlier is fine with me if you guys want to do it.
Yeah,
That's,
well, it's good
and we
for
can
me.
try.
Yeah,
You're not
try
into
it
it? You're not into it, John?
It's just I have stuff going on, as you guys can see.
Yeah.
So I mean I have it's I mean some days it'll work, but some days I'll be a little late.
Yeah, we'll play it by ear.
Most days it'll work.
Okay. All right. Well, let's try it. Like Frank looked at some of the analytics and some of the insights and thought that because of where the United States isn't exactly always where our audience is. So
Right.
sometimes we're trying to find appeal to the people that are going to be tuning in. But if everybody that's on here
I'll make it
shares
work.
this and likes
I'll make it work, whatever it takes.
Awesome.
You know what it is? I'm a big advocate for Murphy's Law. People don't believe in Murphy's Law, but I believe in it absolutely 100% completely because I have so many examples of it, but I'll just give you one because it was relevant to today. Anytime I make an appointment for something, the worst day I can do it is Tuesday, because I have this show, I have the other show, I have a meeting, I have another thing going on, I have another precept thing that I have to do every week. Tuesday is the worst day. Anytime I make an appointment, the guy to come fix my tractor today, I can be there on Tuesday at 9:30. No, can't it be Wednesday, Monday, Thursday, Friday? No, it's always Tuesday. So a dentist, they made a dentist appointment. Well, what time I can get you in Tuesday at 11 o'clock. It's
I
not
gotta
the
go- I
point
gotta-
now
I
where
gotta
I'm
go to-
making the appointment and I'm saying,
Same.
don't tell me. Tuesday around 11 o'clock, right? She goes, how did you know? It's just-
I know. That's my son too. It's like Tuesday. Be there at 12. I'm like, oh God. Now I'll be
Yeah.
hightailing it to Wantor,
Right.
driving 80 miles an hour.
All right. Well, we will be back Thursday. I guess we don't know what time yet, but that's okay.
Let's shoot for 9. I'll do 9:30. We can do
All right,
9:30.
we'll start at 9:30. All right, so we'll do it. All right,
Yep.
everybody. Talk to you later.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Later.